Hi, my name is Ruth Smith, and I'm a visual artist from Apex, North Carolina. Today is the 20th of February, 2025. I have lived in the Raleigh-Durham area, known locally as the Triangle, for 17 years, but I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. I grew up in a very creative family, so arts and creativity has always been around me and highly encouraged. My mom and her sister were both painters, and my dad comes from a family of musicians and theater people. Growing up, we would attend large parties at my grandparents' house in Stanton, Virginia, where there would be multiple jam sessions, typically traditional bluegrass or medieval folk songs, happening in different rooms, including my dad on the auto harp and his brothers on the guitar. There was often also a play being performed. My grandmother was a playwright, and my grandfather was a drama professor at the local university, and they also ran their own outdoor theater. Growing up in that environment, I learned art can be fun and spontaneous and is often best experienced with others. The stereotype of the miserable, reclusive artist sitting by themselves painting was not the only way to becoming an artist. I did not get the music or acting talent from them, but I did get the passion for the arts, particularly visual art and writing. I took art classes in high school and minored in art in college. I also took a lot of creative writing classes and joined/started several poetry writing groups. But then I went through a long period from my mid-20s to early 40s where I really didn't make much art. It wasn't until 3 to 4 years ago that I really got back into it and started to make it a priority and a way of life. My biggest influences come from both the raw energy of abstract expressionism and the structured precision of geometric abstraction. I'm inspired by artists like Pollock and de Kooning, whose expressive gestural brushwork captures pure emotion and movement. At the same time, I deeply admire the mathematical harmony and simplicity found in the works of geometric abstract artists like Kandinsky and Albers. Their ability to distill form and color into something so intentional and powerful pushes me to explore the balance between spontaneity and structure in my own work. I'm also influenced a lot by nature and science, particularly the parts of life that we cannot see, that are either too small or too far away to see with our naked eye, or that humans perceive maybe in different ways. I really got into laser cutting as a tool for art when I saw the work of Ivana Stenklova from the Czech Republic on Instagram. Her work still amazes me every time I see it, so check it out. Recently, in my laser cut work, I've been exploring abstraction with portraits. I've been taking old photos, some family portraits, and some interesting historical ones, and engraving them, then breaking those portraits up, shifting them around, mixing them together with other portraits to make something wholly new and abstract. I also like exploring what happens when you overlap figures or portraits, or simplifying the human form into geometric shapes or lines. The biggest challenge of being an artist, I would say, is affording to. I know some people who are doing it full time, and I am in awe of them because it's very hard to make a living doing it. I sometimes use recycled materials out of exploration and playfulness, but also out of necessity. Art supplies are very expensive. What advice would I give to my younger self? I was a pretty shy kid, so I would tell my younger self that it's okay. As a kid, I craved to be extroverted and feel comfortable in large groups, but it didn't come naturally then. I felt like I never would be. Now I would call myself an extroverted introvert. I'm loud and I crave being around people, but I don't like being the center of attention, and I also need my introverted time too. I would tell my younger self you don't have to be one or the other. It's good to push yourself out of your comfort zone in some ways, but also it's good to just do what feels right. I guess you could say my main medium, which is laser cutting, is pretty unconventional. I design my work digitally and then either cut or engrave it into wood or acrylic sheets with the laser cutter. In my paintings, I also like to explore using recycled materials to add texture to my pieces, such as using shredded paper, straws, dried paint chips, and even ripped fabric. Oh yes, I definitely listen to music while I art. I pretty much have music on all the time, but particularly when I'm making art. Sometimes it helps inspire my art, other times it's just there keeping me company. When I post an Instagram story, I usually include one of the songs I was listening to while making the art. One of the things I don't like about being an artist is that you don't get to hear people's reactions to it very often. That said, because my work tends to be abstract, I love hearing from people what they see in it because our minds naturally want to find something realistic within something abstract. One time, my mom called me up and said, "Why are you painting all these horses?" And believe me, I have never tried to paint a horse. That sounds difficult. What do I want people to take away from my art? I guess I want them to take anything away, whether it's a quick emotion, a lingering idea, or they find something beautiful in it. If they come away from it with anything, I consider it a success.